This thing is going to look cool when it's done. Hello, John Talley here with Partzilla.com. Today we're continuing the restoration process of our 2002 Honda TRX400EX. Starting with the A-arms, we're going to go ahead and break down our suspension and get everything stripped, inspect it, see if it's usable, rebuild it, refinish it, and then get it ready to go on the frame. Now, the one upgrade that I'm definitely going to do is we're going to a set of TRX400R shocks. That's a really common modification, and I actually did that to my own machine, oh good gosh, probably 15 years ago when I had a 400EX. Now, as far as the A-arms, I really hope they're going to clean up and we're going to be able to just press in the new ends and that they're still straight enough to go back on the machine. If they are not, I may go aftermarket. Haven't decided which one I want to go with if I need to go that direction. But for today, let's go ahead and get this broken down so we can really inspect and see what we've got, determine if anything's bent to the best of my knowledge, and then start the refinishing process. This is the only way to do this without destroying that boot, what's left of it. It'll just scare the crap out of you when it pops though. Tell you what, let's go ahead and put some mojo on it. Told you. Glad I wasn't standing over there. Good tool. Good tool. Ooh, that feels crunchy. Yes, we will be replacing the bearings. Not as bad as I thought. A little worn down, but I think we're still good to go. One down, one to go. Same procedure, hopefully. Oh boy, this boot's got a rip in it. I'll have to come up with something. Honda being Honda, of course, they didn't put their boots on like everybody else with just, you know, a spring at the top and the bottom. I've read that they actually glue these on. Before I took it apart, I did look at the suspension pretty in depth, and she was a little out of whack. Hopefully, these aren't the problem. All right, enough of this chain. Now it probably won't work. Samson and his hair, that this thing has to have its chain. Not nearly as dramatic as the other one, but it'll take us a while to beat that one, I think. Okay, let's see if we can get lucky again. Yeah. Alright, now we can talk about the elephant in the room. Not loving the condition of these boots. What do you expect, John? They're 25 years old. This one is split, so I'm going to need to find replacement boots, which Honda doesn't make. Now, I've seen some aftermarket ones on eBay. I'm not real wild about that. So let's see what I can come up with that might be able to go in and replace these. But for right now, off to the blast cabinet. I'm not going to whine as much as I have been about this because people are getting tired of it. But yeah, this thing's just completely... If I were building this machine for me, all of this would be going in the trash can, and I'd order that full flight racing A-arms. But what I think I'm going to do is order the 2008 OEM as well, and I'll rebuild these. And I'll say, listen, I got 3 ways I can go. So the next order of business, let's look at the swing arm. When I pulled this thing off, I didn't pay much attention to it, but now it's time to really start looking. And there are a couple of things that I need to point out. First and foremost, this is not a limited slip differential. This is a straight axle where there should not be any play like that. And it looks like the majority of it is right in there. That is a splined hub, and evidently it's worn to the point it is moving almost the width of a spline. So I'm amazed that it hasn't already spun on it. Second thing, it is not supposed to do that. So we knew the bearings were going to be trash, but even the carrier has got a big issue. Evidently, when they were trying to adjust the chain slack, they got a little carried away with trying to get it to rotate and snapped off part of it. Now that's all we can see from the outside. So let's get this thing broken down and see if there's anything that we can salvage on it. So let's start off by getting our caliper out of the way, flip it over, get off that skid plate, and then we'll start breaking it apart. This thing is just an unbelievable turd. Did any of this build make financial sense? No, but I'm doing it anyway. Still love how there was only 3 lug nuts holding on each one. And if I remember correctly, on the front end, they were the wrong bolts. They weren't tapered. I don't know how that can be recoverable for the axle splines. Now I can pretty much guarantee you we're going to have to replace the axle now. I guess they didn't quite tighten this one up enough, allowed it to wobble, and now it's pretty much done. Yeah, they're not supposed to be quite that pointy, so I don't think that's going to recover. What did y'all do here? Oh, that's like a gouge on the end of it. Gonna have to grind that back to where I can even get a socket on it. Something hit it hard all the way in there, like somebody took a chisel after it. Well, this thing is nothing but a whole basket full of Easter eggs. One after another. Yeah, you can see the difference in the width of those versus this side. Okay, next, if I could rewind the clock, I'd say, all right, let's break this loose before we did anything, because there's going to be a lot of torque on this. Definitely going to need another wrench to set it back right. It's close, but there's just so much crap on it. Alright. Now you. Same direction. Good God! I think we have to get out some heat, because I mean it's got to come in so I can get to that ring. So let's set it on fire. Smoking. Good God! All right, I'm going to cut a couple of reliefs in it. There. I would imagine this is still hot, so we're going to try not to touch it. Oh, I see. I pretty much cut it in half. That's why it's not wanting to cooperate. All right, now we can reverse engines and get all that out of the way. Isn't this fun? I don't know, I think it was a little bit corroded in there. Oof, what a mess. Was not holding on by much. All right, guys, I mean, I'm going through the pain of taking this thing apart, but really, there's almost nothing that's salvageable. I mean, just those splines right there, that would have disqualified it from getting reused. But I wanted to show you how to pull it apart the right way instead of getting out a chainsaw and just cutting it in half and being done with it. It is what it is, but this heading to the scrapyard. And if you're doing this, just do it lightly, and I'm aiming toward the inside because we don't want to divot the surface if we decide to reuse this disc. You gonna let me pull through now, maybe? Very large snap ring. This is not what this is designed to do, but we don't have a pair of circlip pliers that are capable of getting this. The distance there is beyond their reach. That's a first. For sale on eBay, cheap. Just, no, just nothing left. But, let's take a look at the carrier next, and woohoo! That's supposed to be a bearing. Wow, it was just metal on metal, no bearing at all. You want to see what's supposed to be in there? I guess it's in there, but it's not doing what it's supposed to do anymore. How can it? All right, let's go a little bit more. I forgot about that O-ring. That's what made it so tough to take off. Ooh, those are supposed to be 6s. This thing's got scars on the outside and the inside. Let's try a set of vice grips, because that looks like how they tighten them up, because I can see the marks. Now, can we get this thing to drop out? Gee, I wonder why it wouldn't rotate. This part is ugly, but it's usable. The last piece we need to break down is at the pivot point. So let's get that done, and that'll be the final determination as to whether or not I can reuse the swing arm, because we still have that guy that was kind of embedded in there. If you want to see what it took to get the swing arm pivot on the back of the engine, go check out that breakdown video. Now, if you're enjoying this, go hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. That way you can keep up with whatever I'm working on next. I doubt this is going to work. It's laughing at me. I would imagine these are easy to press in and hard as hell to remove. What if, drop that guy in there. We'll try shooting it from an angle. I got nothing to lose. And you can tell he was getting desperate. That was not in the manual, and nor should it be. I got it, but it wasn't pretty. Fortunately, I have 2 of these sets, and yeah, this is tool abuse. I almost feel bad about this, but I think it was Spock that says, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. And I still hadn't decided if I want to try to reuse this thing after all of that. We'll clean it up, blast it, and see what it looks like. Talk about pulling one out of the ditch. Looks like his chain was trying to cut it in half as well. I can buff that out. So after a lot of cleaning and blasting, I tried just clear coating, and honestly, I wasn't very impressed with it. You could still see where I'd blasted, and it left kind of a trail there. Plus, there were several places where, well, let's face it, this thing was a little bit scarred up. So I went in with a sanding disc and at least smoothed them out. And by doing so, that pretty much changed the way that it was going to be finished. So to cover that up, hey, let's go with a different color of Cerakote, and I went with the titanium, and that also is accented on the front hubs and on the engine and a few other places. And honestly, I'm impressed with it. I mean, is she perfect? No. You can still see where it's gouged from the chain jumping off and various other battle scars, but I think she's still usable. So we're going to go ahead and build it up and get it put on the machine. Now, the one thing I am going to stray away from as far as OEM, the bearing carrier. I mean, even if I was an ace aluminum welder, it still would be almost impossible to bring that back. I decided to go with a unit from DuraBlue. This unit's already assembled, all the bearings are in, the inner seals. All we need to do is get in the O-rings, get it greased in there, and then build up to the rest of the axle. And by the way, I did come in with a sanding disc or a barrel and clean this out, because I did not have it taped off when I Cerakoted it, and that needs to be not built up. So make sure if you paint yours, you get it cleaned back out. And we're going to put a light coat of grease on the inside. To make this easier to adjust once it's in there, let's bring her through. Then we've got an O-ring. There's a little pivot point that goes up there. And then there's an O-ring that goes in this channel on the carrier for the brake caliper. Trick is getting it to stay in there. Guess this will be the one Kawasaki part in it. The next trick is we need to get it over that groove where the snap ring is going to go without damaging it. What worked for me was just angling it just a little bit and not pressing too hard, and it went over it. Now on your circlip, mine's a little bit dirty still, but it has outside stamped right there. So make sure that is facing out. Satisfying little click. Let's move to the other end and go ahead and get the new bushings in for the pivot point, because that'll be a lot easier to do without a 36-inch axle, however long it is, sticking out. Went with a set from All Balls Racing. Of course, Honda makes a special tool to do this. We're going to do it with just a Motion Pro kit. Love this kit. It has so many different points to where you can adapt it for almost any instance. So let's see if we can get this thing knocked in on either side. Try to help it out a little bit by putting some grease on it first. Not that it makes any difference, but I usually try to put any type of wording out. The real trick with this is just getting it started right. Because if we go in a little bit wonky, then we got problems. Now I do have some other tools that I've used on my cars to actually push and pull bearings. Let's give this a shot with just a bearing driver, and then if I need to go grab that other tool, then that's what we'll do. But we need to go in that depth right there. This is where having the special tool would make a big difference, but hey, we are gonna persevere. We'll tap it a few times, check it, tap it again. As soon as it gets below that level, then we know we've got it. Just don't hit it too far. I think that's got it. One more time. I can just leave this driver in that same configuration, and we'll just send it all the way through. Now most of the time, these bearings, they just go flush, but not this time, not with these. Now if we go any further, let's go ahead and get some grease inside our bearings. I mean, they come greased. I want to make sure they are packed. Now with that finished, let's get in our inner seals. And of course you want this side facing in, and these are basically just pushed in. Now what we're trying to do here is get it just below the surface of the inside. Now if it goes a little bit further than that, it's okay, but you want to make sure it's all the way in there. Otherwise, it could work its way out. That should do. Now, a little bit more grease on these. The one on the machine right is going to be the longer one. I'm going to install it from the inside. That way I know it'll push in on those lips on the seal. Plus, they need grease on them anyway. And the end cap, it just holds on the outside like that. Long way from where we started, huh? Now, if you will notice, this is not stock axle. I decided to go with one from Full Flight Racing. Now, the real advantage this one has is you can adjust your track width on the rear. Now, we're going to be setting this one up for cross country or XC, so it'll be fairly narrow. But if you wanted to, you could stretch it out and head to the motocross track of your choice. But it still builds up the same way as a stock one. Step one, you've got a couple of O-rings that go on either side of the carrier. Before we slide it through, let's go ahead and grease up these areas as well as the seals and the bearings themselves to make it easier to slide through. Packing the inside of that lip on the seal. Same thing on the other side, just getting it in that groove. Okay, let's go. Let's see if we can get gravity to help us out a little bit here. Damn. Shouldn't have to hit it this hard, Tracy. Why are you being so ornery?
I'll them teeth and no toothbrush.
I knew you were going to say that. No, Colonel Sanders, you were wrong. Nowhere in the manual does it say that this is supposed to be a bitch. Okay, jeez. I tried it with the aftermarket axle. I tried it with the stock axle, which I had on hand. Then I remembered, I ordered just a stock carrier for this unit. Both the aftermarket and the stock go right through like they're supposed to. Not too tight, not too loose. But I beat on this thing to the point I'm going to damage the inner races just trying to get it through. So I give up. So we're going to pull this Durablue out and go with the stock one. I surrender. Sometimes you have to stop fighting when you're going to lose this badly. So it's not worth trying to cram either one of these axles into this unit. I don't know if they sized it wrong, but you think you can do better? I'll send it to you for free, but you got to send me a video of you getting this installed on the same unit. I don't think it was going to work. Unless you were going to try to press it in, but I wasn't willing to put the bearings under that much stress. Comparing the two, I'm not sure why, but the stock one has a couple of O-rings, I would assume, to try to keep it dry on the inside, whereas the Durablue did not. Does it really make that much of a difference? I don't know. Durablue, you want to defend yourself? Give me a call. Wasted 45 minutes of my life. Since we're right here, we'll go ahead and pack the inner seal. I have no idea what's wrong with that, if it was sized incorrectly, not marked, and it's meant for a different unit. I don't know, but woof. Free to good home. A ring's up there, so we're good. I never shy away from a fight, but you saw the way that just went in. That is the way it's supposed to be. All right, next, let's get our brake disc flange in, and don't forget this other O-ring that goes to the inside. Little edge, you can see where it goes in, right in there. So let's go ahead and get a layer around the outside, which goes to the seal inside to get that O-ring, make sure it doesn't catch on anything. And then some on our splines, so in the event we ever took this apart, we'd stand a better chance of not being all corroded together, because we've seen what that looks like. Shouldn't be a problem. It should just get knocked on. I shouldn't have to beat everything to death on this thing, Tracy. And it starts off smooth, but then it reaches a certain point and goes full stop. I mean, it is removable.
You always say if you have to force it, it ain't right. You know?
So what do you think, kids? Should I take my own advice from Tracy? Did I damage the splines trying to beat it into that other housing? It's starting to look that way because it slides right on the stock one. Take this one out, lay it to the side, maybe some other time after I talk to the manufacturers and go, all right, is this an interference fit or not? Because good grief if it is, it's too much. All right, kids, we haven't talked much about this, but this is not a new frame. And of course, it was too big to go in our media blaster, so I used a chemical strip outside. Arduous process, took about 6 coats, but finally got it all stripped off. And then at that point, I was like, well, this thing will never be clean enough to do a Cerakote on. So I called on our next door neighbors that happen to have a paint booth with a talented painter named Brandy to help us out on this. Now I'd like to say, yeah, I painted the whole thing myself. No, I laid down some of the coats on the bottom, but Brandy did the heavy lifting on this, and I just want to say thank you to her because it looks amazing. I mean, it really does. So with that out of the way, well, let's start putting this thing together. So the way I want to approach this is I want to put it on an ATV lift, bring it up, and we'll start assembling that front suspension that we haven't even talked about yet. My original plan was to blast these down, replace the rubber, even though you can't get that except for aftermarket. Cerakote them and put them back together. But as I started pulling them apart, these ball joints, they're worn out. And guess what? That is not replaceable. So the question became, do I go with the OEM or do I take the opportunity to upgrade? Well, we're going to do an upgrade. We're going with a system from Full Flight. It's only a +1, just a little bit wider because I want to set up this machine for cross-country work. I mean, if I were going to do motocross with it, yeah, I'd go to a +2, maybe even a +3. But with the tight woods work that I'm building this machine to deal with, it needs to be pretty narrow. Full Flight has it's a nice setup, reasonably priced, and that's the one I decided to go with. Plus, it's completely adjustable up front, so I can get the angle of those front tires just where I want it. This is no different than assembling just a regular OEM front suspension. The bolt torques are all the same. All of these, all 8 of these are going to be 29 foot-pounds. So we're just going to put them in there finger tight for the time being, get the shocks in place, then we will torque them down. Now these were original. The spindles, yeah, they were okay, so I decided to go with it. And this is one of the first pieces that I Cerakoted.
Is the top one upside down?
Oh, entirely possible. We'll get it right eventually. Y'all go ahead and laugh at me a little bit. We're close to ride height now. That's pretty much the angle. Tell you what, I think we can go ahead and torque these. Now for the stock A-arms, you had 22 foot-pounds up top and 33 down low. And these, I think we're gonna do 33 top and bottom. But I don't wanna do that yet. And here's why. These are adjustable. So to adjust them, they need to be able to turn. You can't turn if they're torqued down, because I have no idea where the camber is going to be sitting on the table like it is. That is not determined until we've got everything put together and the machine is sitting on its own weight. And each time you torque one, mark it. So you need to go get any type of permanent marker. That way you know that it's been done. Jump on the other side, get those mounted up, and then we're going to bring in the shocks. Before we can mount the shocks, I need to modify the frame because I'm not putting the stock ones back on. We're going with a set from a 450R. So let's start off by taking this section out right here, and then we're going to grind back that edge right back here. The reason being is, one, the shock tower is a lot thicker than the stock one, so it is going to hit right here on this area. And then that bolt is going to catch the top edge of this. So we're going to take out that edge and the back side of that little nut, if that gives us enough room to get this in there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I think we got a little bit of some paint buildup here. There we go. Now I do need to run a tap through there to clean up those edges, and whatever bolt that I use, it's going to need to be pretty small. And I may have to come back once that bolt is in there and grind off the bolt once it is tightened. We're going to do the exact same procedure to the other side. So we can go ahead and torque these down. Oh, one other thing. I do need to do just a little bit of spot spraying with some new paint since we have exposed metal, because I don't want it to rust. Not as good as Brandy, but hey, it'll work. All right, kids, all I'm going to do now is go to the other side and do the exact same procedure. People are making this a lot tougher than it needs to be. That's all you got to do. It's just that simple. Let's clean this off, and I'll bring over the vacuum cleaner and get up all that metal. But believe it or not, at one time I was a really fast mechanic. I could beat flat time by about 50%. All right, with all that set up, let's go ahead and get our shocks installed. 33 foot-pounds coming up. Okay, same thing for the other side. Good to go up front. Let's go deal with the swing arm now. All right, boys and girls, you know I don't give up easily, so I was able to get in touch with Full Flight Racing in regards to the axle. They actually don't have a phone number, but they are very responsive when you send either a message or an email. I was able to open up a conversation with them, and guess what? They have run into this before, and the short answer is that evidently they think, or it has been shown, that that particular part where those splines are, it'll have like a buildup or some type of coating on it. And they sent a very short video saying, well, you just use a cutoff wheel and go through each spline lightly just to open it up enough to where it'll actually go into place like it should. So I can play that video real quick.
I had to clean up the splines with one of these. Just a little bit, and fixed it.
I would not want to just try that without being told, but if they say that'll work, I'm willing to give it a shot. So let's go get that one cleaned back up, see if we can straighten it up, and then get it installed. So let's get the grease off first. In the video, they went directly to that cutoff wheel and went down each of the splines. I at least want to try it just with a wire brush, because I want to take off the absolute minimum so there's the least amount of play in this thing, but still allows it to move. Now, if they were right in the video and it is just a coating, this should strip it off. Survey says. So it is more than just a coating that's causing an issue. So let's get out our cutoff wheel and gently go across each one of these splines and then see where we end up. So let's see what we've got. Oh, so close. I didn't think it was going to work. What do I know? Apparently not much. One more time. I'm going to call that good, kids. Not real thrilled how I kind of scarred it here and there, but that won't affect how it's going to operate. It just bothers me that it's not perfect looking anymore. In you go. Okay. Just getting it past that seal lip. That felt right. I can deal with that amount of persuasive energy. Nothing like it was before. So I think we're good to go now. All right, get our ring in. And yes, I did order the correct tools to tighten this up later. We'll back it off just enough to hold it still, and then we'll do all the torquing once the machine is completely put together. Just remind me to do that, Tracy, so it doesn't all fly apart, later in life.
Try my best.
Tell you what, while we've got her over here, how about we go ahead and put on our shock linkage, at least get it mounted up before we carry it over to the frame. Anybody remember which way it went? I don't. That's why I took a picture of it. Crazy. 33 down here and 43 everywhere else. Okay. Whatever you say, Honda. That is going to do it for the swing arm, But before we put it on there, I need to put the spring back on the rear shock because I refinished it as well. Now, I used a vapor hone on the shock body itself, but I used our regular media blaster on the spring because I took it all the way back to metal, bare metal, and then Cerakoted it. And it is a dead-on match for the Honda Red. So really pleased how this turned out. Now, on the shock body itself, I just went back with a clear. So it has a nice shiny finish to it now. Hopefully it'll repel all the dirt that this thing's going to be going through. Now, the one thing I don't know is what kind of shape the shock's actually in. If it needs to have a rebuild, you can always pull it off later and do another video. But for right now, at least we know we've got it cleaned up. So it looks the part, even though it may need some help on the inside. Chances are probably, but like I said, that'll be a story for a separate video. Put some sharp edges on this thing. Now, I don't believe there's a top or a bottom to this. They'd look the same. So we're going to just go with it. She's at least started. Let's go get this bolted up. Guys, Tracy's resetting the cameras, but I'm spinning this bolt around because in my photograph, that's the way the last people installed it. But on the Honda exploded diagrams, it's in the other direction. So we couldn't just leave it like that. Okay, well, as you can tell, there's something missing right here that this bolt's going to go through as well, but it'll get installed later. So we're just going to temporarily install it for right now. That was a whole lot easier to pop in there than it was to take out. Next, let's go ahead and get the front of our linkage in the frame. We'll come back and tighten these up in a minute. Now let's lay our shock in. Starting to come back to life already. Bottom those out. We'll torque them, mark them. I think that's pretty much going to do it for today. 43 coming up. Richard Petty's number. All right, kids, it's finally starting to pay off. All that work, sanding and blasting and coating, is starting to come alive on the table. And at this point, it's really going to start to pick up steam because this is the fun part, actually bolting everything back together. But that is going to do it for this video. I'm tired and we're going to call it a day. And we just want to say thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Y'all take care.